Hello, welcome back to BlenderSushi Live Noding. In this video, I'm going to revisit my old blog post on Procedural City. I did write a few articles about it in the past, and I explored it using Sverchok, and today I'm going to do the same. But I might improve it slightly in terms of how it's set up and designed. It's actually a little bit, we can do it a little bit more elegant this time, I think. So at some point I talk about how you could create like this procedural city. This is my first article about it, and here's actually I'm talking more about if you want to build like a tower and you can stack like a few blocks of objects, and you just need to worry about the top, the rooftop, and then the bottom part, and then what's in between is pretty much the same, like windows. This is for one building, and you can repeat it a couple of times. And then I made another articles where here I'm actually experimenting more with a kind of Voronoi, like the mapping of the building itself. And I talk about this QTown plugin for Maya by Brave Rabbit, and I'll show it to you. This is what you can achieve with QTown, and there is also few other add-on or plugins for Maya that does it. I'm trying to recreate that in Blender using Sverchok. I think I don't know who else who actually experimenting with this, but I really like the simplicity of QTown for Maya. You see, like this building is basically what we need to provide is this the flat polygon, the floor, which is in this case just a grid, and then based on that grid, it will then generate this random looking buildings. It has only few variations, like this kind of tower with like a cross section, vertical cross section or horizontal cross section, and some building is more like a factory. But this is kind of, it looks believable, and I will try to do the. I have to start from the most basic kind of city first, like the rough kind of look before I get into the building. And yeah, I think we can achieve that in Sverchok easily, but for now it's just gonna be like a block. Yeah, let's try to do that. And for the details, probably see, like this city looks like maybe somewhere in New York, but I'm thinking to do something that looks more like a Kowloon block city. Like it's actually like this guy here is just like a city full of apartment, and looks really detailed. And I think I can probably achieve that using Blender Microdisplacement, and then some using procedural textures. I just want to get that kind of look. Okay, so let's switch to Blender. Let's quit Firefox and then switch to Blender. I have Blender open, and here I made this earlier, and it just took me like a few minutes. It's not because like this is like really complex or anything. This is actually really simple. Actually, I only need to make one. In this case, just like just a plane, basic plane, and from that plane I'm just extruding up using the extrude separate face nodes, and I can achieve all these variations. It's because I'm using the monad, and then the monad can have a vectorized input, so that's why I can achieve these variations. So yeah, I will try to show it to you, the whole thing. It's not actually that complicated because it's really basic. It's just like blocks being extruded up, and then but I have slight variations. Actually, there are 3 different variations. Each blocks have a building with different height, and from that blocks it's got duplicated many times, and some buildings actually really short like this, and it looks quite believable from certain angle, although it doesn't have any details. So let's do like a speed procedural city using Sverchok. Okay, I have an empty scene here. Gonna delete the cube. Gonna switch to compositing. Speed procedural city. Okay, let's switch to Sverchok. Turn on LIVENODING083. Now start with a plane, and you draw, and then let's have a look at the result. It's just a square like this. How many blocks do you want it? 4 by 4 give you 9. Probably that's too much. Maybe 5 by 5. That should give you like 16 polygon face. 5 by 5 vertices. Okay, that's our starting point. And then we can have we can use the extrude separate face, and this is gonna give us what we need. So if we increase the height, see, we can see there's just a big block, and each building has the same size. We can randomize the height, but before we do that, we can actually randomize, kind of giving using the mask. Here there's a mask option. Using that mask, we can randomize whether we want to have building on that polygon face or not. So let's do that real quick. Use random number. Need a count. How many counts depends on how many polygon we have here. So we just get this length and plug this there and plug that into there. Plug into the mask. It doesn't work because currently random just give value between 0 and 1. What we want is to map it from 0 to 1 to 0 2, and then we use mask to floor the number. There you go. So sometimes we have buildings, sometimes we don't, and all the buildings are still the same size. So we need to also take care of that. The height is controlled by this guy, but we can also vectorize the height, while the scale itself we can leave it at 1. Yeah, so next thing we do, just you're gonna use another random and a map range and then list length, so we can reuse this. Length plug into the count, and this plug into the height. And for the height, we can randomize it between just any number between 1. It cannot be 0, otherwise the buildings disappear, or minus, it goes down. So between between 1, maybe 1 point something, and we can always randomize it further. So you can either use random or use noise. One of them will give you kind of more believable look. Yeah, so we basically pretty much done really, and what you need to do is kind of bake this. We can always squeeze the building. You know, instead of square, we can have building that's more like a rectangular block like that. Really, when thinking about procedural city, the mapping, the topology, or that I'm thinking is either like a city like maybe like in New York, so it's almost like kind of grid where you have maybe avenue or and street, and each building is almost very really packed like that. Or you have something that's more like maybe Tokyo or city of Paris. It's more I don't know, maybe city of Paris is more like spirals, and you have different arrondissement or something, and then it's more like a Voronoi cell, I think. And then you can then divide the city buildings more like that, like how I draw it. So the mapping is really important, but for now we just gonna be using that grid. And even if for that grid, in order to make it more believable, the building needs you have to think about the street and the walk path for people walking beside the building. So the building probably needs a little bit of gap in between. With this extrude separate, we cannot have that. But there is another one that I will not use now. It's adaptive polygons. This might give you more control over the building. But for now, we just use the extrude separate face. Okay, so yeah, we pretty much done. So at this point, you either do baking, so you can like do a baking and then randomize, and then bake it again, and then randomize it again, and bake it. Do it like that. That's one way I could think of. You can also bake it using animation nodes per frame. I have shown you before. That will work as well. But I think I will use monad in this Sverchok monad and the vectorization in this case. Sorry, I have a bit of hay fever. So if we use plane, as you know, if we use a matrix in to position this cluster of buildings, we're gonna have same exact building per copy. So yeah, that's not gonna work really well. You kind of need to have more randomizations in order for it to look believable. So we need to use, maybe we can use monad. So that's exactly what I will do. We're gonna use monad. File save as. So I'm gonna take all of this and then Control G for group. Now it's group. All we need to do is to connect the input for the monad. So we can have that, have this. I'll go up first and then have a look. Looks like it's outputting lots of objects. I'm thinking, so I might have made a mistake somewhere here. Edit. Maybe this is giving me error just now. So vertices and polygon. So that's what I'm expecting instead of like a bunch of many objects just now. And yes, that's exactly what I'm expecting. Before it must have like a history from the matrix. Okay, so now it's pretty good. Let's see. Okay, we want to control how many vertices it have, and the step also we want to have that, and we want to have control over the seed. So that's the seed for how random the building is, and the seed on how sparse they are within the grid. Okay, that's pretty much what we need. Let's jump up. Now we have just this monad. Let me rename that real quick. This is city cluster. Maybe and we can have how many, 5 by 5 or 6 by 6, and we can control whether it should be square or more like rectangular. And we have the seed control, and okay, maybe the new minimum and new height for the building. Let's go up again. Minimum and maximum, and randomize it. I probably need to rename this because it's currently having the same variable name, and that's not gonna work too well. Where is the naming? Seed seed mask, seed height. Go back up and then test again. Yeah, for unknown reason, the seed mask. That's weird. I will disconnect one of them, maybe delete one, and plug this in again. So seed mask. There's probably a little bit of, there's a bug there. I'll try again. Seed mask. Seed mask. Huh. Interesting. They have different name though. And if I open up my example, this is the finished version of the setup. I have like, well, okay, too many. That's too many. Let's reduce this. Oops. 12 by 12, 145, 144, and how many city do we have? 60 times 100, so it's probably like there are like 6,000 buildings going to be generated. Let's make it small. Okay, in this case I have that seed number. Okay, apparently the seed is kind of connected to each other, but we can always randomize it. Well, let's get back to our setup. That's alright. Okay, so we have this, and we have the seed that's kind of connected, although they're controlling different things. That's okay. Anyhow, we're gonna use this factorize, and use the matrix in, and then use a plane. Whoops. Okay, Sverchok just Blender just crashes. Run Blender. Let's reload Blender real quick. The monad itself is still like a beta kind of node, and also the face extrude is also beta kind of node. So every now and then it will crash. File open. Okay, we are up to here. So we have our monad for this city cluster. Blender still loading. Maybe open another Blender. Okay, this one seems to be good. File open. Speed procedural city number 4. This one is also kind of frozen. So I have a feeling it's my computer is installing something at the moment. Oh, well, let's load this file. Oh well, I guess I probably need to continue in the next video. Um, unless this one loads. It doesn't seem to load properly. Let's just open the final version once again. Yeah, so basically, once you have the monad like this, is for the city cluster. It's a super basic one. It's just extruded blocks, but still it can be useful for a starter. Now it's actually working. Maybe I just need to be patient. Let's reduce this to 5 by 5. So this is the final result. Here I'm actually, all I need to do from here to here is just to provide this matrix positions for each building cluster. And here I am actually randomize further the scaling for each cluster. And this actually add more believability. So of course with the city, you tend to have some parts that's more with a high-rise building, and some part is with less building. So this kind of give that, and all we need to do is just using the scaling in this case. If you actually have a texture, if we use cycles to procedurally randomize textures, it might not be a problem, depending on how you do your textures, whether it is using a UV or it's generated. Maybe scaling building like this is maybe not a good idea. It depends how you do your textures in cycles. But yeah, it seems okay. All the monad, in order for the factorizations to work, you just need to turn on factorize, and then here I'm plugging the range integer for the seed, and that will give you what you need. It's gonna give you this result just from here. I think I can continue with that. So hopefully this doesn't crash. So vector, we need to have plane, and then we have a matrix in, and this is the vertices plug in there. We have how many? Maybe 4 by 4. Plug this to the matrix. Okay, now we have the duplicates copy. Alright, that's our building. Currently it's all the same. It's probably just like a building in China. All apartments are like that. And if you want to randomize it, you just vectorize. So turn on vectorize and range integer, count step, maybe how many buildings do we have? I don't know, maybe 100, just to 100. So each one will have a different seed, and hopefully we have like the randomizations that we want. So yeah, that's kind of working. Just need to randomize the building height. Maybe just start and the end a bit different. Yeah, so there you go. That seems to be working nicely. Let's see if we can use ambient occlusion with Sverchok. Yep, it does work with Sverchok as well. That's really nice. What else can we randomize? Perhaps if the square is too, if the grid's too even like this, I don't know, it's a bit boring. You can of course jump in back to the monad, and okay, with this plane maybe we can randomize the input vertices. Okay, Blender might crash now. Okay, didn't crash. There's so we're gonna get another seed. Let's randomize it in X and Y. This will add more randomizations to our building, so it's not fully square. And yeah, that should be good. The seed, I don't just plug in any of the seed. So that's probably more random, slightly more random, slightly better. And of course we can also do that to our grid placement. Randomize input vertices for this guy. Yeah, probably not too much, but that's also, that adds to it. Increase the number of building. Maybe like, yeah, like I said, all high-rise building like this is not, it's not very natural. If we add like a scale, random scale, so I'll generate another random, and let's see how many duplicates do we have. We get length of the vertices. Just plug this into the random here. And then we have map range for the scale. What else? This is for the building randomizations for each of the cluster. So yeah, I think this is gonna work. Plug this into the scale. Oh wait, the scale is actually expecting XYZ. So vector in. I know that the scale in Z will randomize the height, so that's what we need to do. And while the X and the Y can remain 1, or they can be random as well. So you can randomize each cluster of the city. Okay, that's too much. Here you can have like 0.2. You see how now it's looking much more natural, because you have some buildings kind of really low. And randomize. Usually, I mean, some of the buildings, high-rise buildings, maybe in the center. Although at the moment it's like random, but kind of like 50-50 chance it's gonna be this short or this tall. But that's add to our city design. and we can always increase it. But at this point, really, it's really up to you how you want to grow your city. In my opinion, this city might be a little bit too simple, but then again, it might work if you use like a micro displacement, and you just randomize. If you have a nice texture, this might be kind of alright, and if you put a camera in the right place with the road and then some small details, then it might be okay. Or if this is from far away, maybe this can be alright. I don't know. Let's see how many this guy can handle it. 3060 by 60, 3600, 3600 times how many buildings do I have? 25 or 36. 30 times 60 by 60, 100,000 or 10,000 buildings. Yeah, this might crash Blender again once again, because I'm forcing it. But I have a feeling that since Blender 2.78 we have Alembic file format is really fast in loading like a heavy mesh, so this might be possible as well. So even that, you know, that's quite a lot of buildings. We don't have much randomization. Maybe I just reduce it again. So it's 100 is bearable. What's it is lacking at the moment is, you know, the variations of the building. So you can have, I don't know, some building have something like that. Even that's a detail. Building doesn't need to be square, and some building have this vertical cross sections. Shorter building, and the rooftop can have stuff like that, or ladder. I don't know. Maybe that's for the next live noding video, if I come back to this procedural city once again. But there you go. That's a Sverchok monad and some quick matrix trick just to randomize the scale of each cluster of the building. I think I'm getting close to the QTown. There's, yeah, but that's really my inspirations for this procedural city in Blender using Sverchok. Yeah, hopefully you find this video useful. Please leave comments and suggestions, and like the video, and then also subscribe to this channel in order for me to continue making live noding video. Yeah, thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you